Legend states that Lord Krishna reclaimed 12 yojanas of land from the ocean god to build his gateway to heaven. Today, the city of Dwarka occupies two completely different realities. It is a highly sacred Char Dham Hindu pilgrimage site, and it is India's premier marine archaeological zone. Look at these heavy stone blocks. The circular holes carved into them identify them as ancient anchors, providing physical evidence that an active city and trade port existed here as far back as 2000 BC. Tourists often see this massive variety of options, from 2.5 millennia-old temples to scuba diving through submerged ruins, and try to cram it all into a single visit. Because they don't organize these activities into a cohesive plan, they usually end up with a frustrating, exhausting trip. The logistical challenge starts with the geography. Dwarka sits on the extreme western tip of Gujarat, right up against the boundless Arabian Sea. Reaching this remote edge requires funneling through one of two mandatory transit nodes, Jamnagar Airport or the Dwarka railway station. To build an itinerary that actually works, we have to map your specific interests to one of three distinct traveler profiles: the pilgrim, the explorer, or the vacationer. Because getting to the edge of the Arabian Sea takes serious effort. Failing to match your personal travel style to the right activities will result in burnout. Before you pick your profile, there is one non-negotiable logistical constraint that applies to everyone. Between March and October, temperatures frequently reach an oppressive 36.6 degrees Celsius. Trying to explore unshaded stone ruins and temples in that heat will drain your energy before noon. The practical solution is to book your trip strictly during the winter months, from November to February. The weather drops into a highly comfortable window of 13 to 32 degrees. Planning for winter also positions you to experience the city's peak cultural energy, when Dwarka hosts massive, vibrant celebrations like Diwali. But perfect weather and major festivals naturally draw the masses. You have to be willing to navigate intense, shoulder-to-shoulder crowds. Booking a winter trip is practically mandatory if you want to avoid heat fatigue, as long as you arrive mentally prepared for the dense crowds of peak season. If your primary goal is spiritual heritage, you fit the pilgrim profile. Your trip will focus heavily on completing the Char Dham spiritual circuit. The centerpiece of this path is the Dwarkadish Temple, a towering structure constructed over 2,500 years ago by Lord Krishna's great-grandson, Bashranab. The trade-off for prioritizing this main heritage circuit is the schedule. It demands navigating the heaviest religious crowds in the city and adhering strictly to rigid temple viewing hours. You will also need to arrange transit outside the immediate city center to reach the secondary spiritual anchor, the revered Nageshwar Jyotirlinga. The scale of the Nageshwar site is immense, dominated by a massive 25-meter or 82-foot statue of Lord Shiva. You'll also factor in the 2,500-year-old Rukmini Devi Temple, which is deeply tied to the legend of Krishna's queen, and the unique yellow Gopi Chandan sand found at the nearby Gopi Lake. Navigating between these dispersed sites is heavily supported by modern infrastructure, like the recently built Sudarshan Setu Bridge. Ultimately, the pilgrim's path guarantees profound spiritual fulfillment, but it absolutely requires rigid scheduling and a very high tolerance for crowds. If you are drawn to marine archaeology and the myth of the Atlantis of India, you are an explorer. Your schedule here is dictated by nature. Visiting the Bodkeshwar Mahadev Temple requires exact timing because the daily high tides physically swallow the structure into the Arabian Sea. Your primary objective will be booking scuba diving or snorkeling excursions out at Beit Dwarka Island or Shivrajpur Beach, and look at this underwater image to see why. Notice the distinct, unnatural right angles and carved stone blocks resting right on the sandy floor. You are swimming over the physical remnants of the 2000 BC submerged city. The steep trade-off for the explorer path is time. These aquatic adventures require dedicating full days and renting gear, which cuts directly into your availability for historical temple visits. Finally, we have the cultural vacationer. This profile prioritizes scenic relaxation and coastal aesthetics over dense history. You will want to spend time walking the vibrant Gomti Ghat, watching the gentle flow of the river converge directly with the boundless Arabian Sea. You'll trade the dense city center for pristine zones like the white sands of Dwarka Beach, Shivrajpur Beach, and the natural quiet of the Gaga Wildlife Sanctuary. While the explorer and vacationer paths offer incredible adventure and relaxation, choosing them means deliberately shifting your focus away from Dwarka's core identity as an ancient religious epicenter. Once you know your profile, the final variable that dictates your success is your total trip duration and how you integrate Dwarka with the rest of the region. If you treat this as a standalone 2-day trip, your bandwidth is capped. You will only have time to scratch the surface of the primary temples in the immediate city center. The heavy trade-off for a short visit is that you leave the incredibly rich cultural network surrounding the city completely untouched. The ambitious alternative is an overland Gujarat itinerary spanning 7 to 10 days, branching out to regional hubs like Porbandar, Jamnagar, Bhuj, Kutch, and Ahmedabad. Executing this lets you see the entire state, but demands a higher budget and stamina for constant travel. Because Dwarka is so remote, it functions poorly as a casual weekend getaway. It requires a highly deliberate investment of time based entirely on your travel stamina. Here is the final verdict. If you are a pilgrim, lock in your travel during the winter months and dedicate your entire schedule to Dwarkadish and Nageshwar. If you are an explorer, ignore the mainland crowds, rent your gear, and spend your days scuba diving at Beit Dwarka to witness sunken ruins. Trying to do everything on the list leads to burnout. You navigate the intensity of this destination by aligning your personal stamina with the profile that matches your goals. If you strategize your timing and embrace your specific travel style, the long journey to the edge of the Arabian Sea truly delivers on its promise as a gateway.